There is one thing I hate more than anything else in the gaming industry. We all know it very well at this point, and unfortunately, it's infecting many beloved franchises nowadays. The thing is corporate greed. And in this video, I will save the worst for last, so make sure to watch the entire shit show through, and without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with Ubisoft. Ubisoft is a well-known name in the gaming community, holding the IPs of franchises like Rainbow Six Siege, Assassin's Creed, and of course Far Cry among other games. This company has made many names for itself, left and right. But where exactly did it go wrong? It was Unity. It definitely was Assassin's Creed Unity, without a doubt. Though many people argue the fact that at Far Cry 4 the quality of Ubisoft games already started to drop. But I have to disagree majorly there. The gameplay is good, the story is cliché but still engaging, and they even have a secret ending if you decide to wait for Pagamon in the beginning of the game. So no, Far Cry 4 is not where Ubisoft started declining in quality. Assassin's Creed Unity though, one of the first Assassin's Creed games I even played, had many issues. Though very playable now and fairly interesting story-wise, the game launched with too many bugs to count, the most popular one being this. It's almost at the point where I feel like an antagonist in a new Assassin's Creed game that doesn't have a face would be an incredibly creative and funny thing to do as a reference. There were also microtransactions in the game that I feel like kind of defeat the purpose of playing at all at that point. If you're not gonna grind for your gear, then what's the point? And the Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole is probably the best example of a franchise ruined. It's come to the point where Ubisoft would launch an Assassin's Creed game every year or two, with Origins and Odyssey being so close to each other that I can barely tell the two apart at times. This goes back to the video I made about graphics and art styles where I talk about how important those two factors are to make a game have its own vibe, but here it really looks like it's just the same game with a different region and a different story. The Far Cry series has also taken hits, with Far Cry Primal being a fun game, but very classically Far Cry in the way that it's way too repetitive. Far Cry 5 having a great story but being buggy and filled to the brim with more microtransactions, and to be honest, I gave up. So I won't even talk about Far Cry 6 and Far Cry New Dawn, since I stopped playing Far Cry at that point. They're not that bad compared to others. Let's go over to a game producer that has a little more franchises under its control. And that's EA. The producer of my favorite shooter Titanfall 2 that they themselves pushed into at a very inconvenient date, didn't get the sales they wanted, and gave up almost immediately. And giving up seems to be a common theme for EA. Maybe you remember the scandal that was Battlefront 2. Due to EA wanting to make more money off of the game, the developers actually made it pay to win in the beta, having to buy loot boxes in order to play certain heroes like Darth Vader that are just stronger than others. Thankfully, they gave up their shenanigans after launch, but this impacted the sales heavily. Battlefront 2 got a little support from DICE for a few years until 2020, where EA finally decided to stop releasing new content. They gave one last update to the game, being the Scarif update, that, though fun, was pretty underwhelming, and later some leakers found out that there were files present for Ventress and Ahsoka in the logs of the game developers, meaning that they were planning for the Clone Wars Season 7. And though definitely not one of the biggest scandals EA ever made, it certainly was one of the dumbest. Battlefront 2 could have been the live service Star Wars game, but they decided to just give up. You know what else they gave up on? Quality. FIFA, or how you want to call it, EAFC, is a really sad display of corporate greed that is already present in the football community. I absolutely love playing football, but it's things like this that just really push me away from being more invested in its content. Each year they make a $70 game with in-game packs to buy, so you can play with your favorite players, and the only reason they have not just made it one live service game that they update every once in a while is because they don't have to. The people who play FIFA are incredibly faithful and loyal and often not really invested in gaming. A lot of FIFA players don't know any better, so they keep buying the stinky game every year. EA Sports does this with other sport games as well, and it's just sad. The only really popular live service game under EA is Apex, which is basically a spin-off for Titanfall. Yet, even though the IP is clearly beloved, EA refuses to give Respawn Entertainment the resources necessary to make a new game in this universe. Although I have heard a few rumors here and there. Even though it's very clearly anticipated, there is so much wrong with EA, and as you can tell, this one frustrates me more than the Ubisoft shenanigans, simply because I love so many franchises that get released under EA's name. I just wish that they would care about the player for just once. But don't worry, EA is not the bottom of the barrel for a reason. But before we start fishing for the bottom of the barrel, let's talk about an honorable mention. And you saw it coming. Tarkov is a shit show. I never really got into Tarkov, even though friends of mine would play it and then tell me to go buy it. But then it already kind of confused me since there were so many versions to buy, and also if you wanted a decent version, the price would probably build up to around $100 and something. So I didn't really want to do that. So when I heard the scandal that Nikita apparently caused, I was kind of surprised as well, because I heard of how much people love this game. So what you do is you ask your customers to pay you $250 for a package that will include all upcoming DLC. Then you bring out a DLC, you claim it's not a DLC, and put everyone's security and trust away. Because I'm not a Tarkov player, I won't really hang around this subject too much, but let me know in the comments down below if you are a Tarkov player and what exactly frustrated you about it, since yeah, I really don't know. But it sounds fucking awful. You know what else is fucking awful? The last company in the gaming industry I want to talk about. In fact, let's have a special occasion for them. Let's host a show. Ladies and gentlemen, here I am to present the shittiest game producer of this century award with honor. And today, it is with disbelief, not really, and disappointment that I present this award to Activision Blizzard. Woo! Clap your hands, everybody, yeah! Let's start with some of the lesser controversial things with Blizzard. Diablo Immortal is basically a gambling mobile game. That's pretty crap. Oh, who am I kidding? We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about the laughable state of Call of Duty and Overwatch. So that's what we'll do. Call of Duty was very respected and one of the most beloved franchises of all time, with Call of Duty Black Ops 3 coming in with a slapping 50 million sales on PlayStation alone. The zombies was praised, the multiplayer was played to death, and the campaign existed. And though Call of Duty certainly had its duties before Call of Duty, things really started to decline with Infinite Warfare. And with Infinite Warfare, it's not even that the game had shitty microtransactions or was released in a bad state either. Not at all. The game was actually pretty good. But people were clearly done with the futuristic style that not only Black Ops 3, but also Advanced Warfare used. So after Infinite Warfare, they went back to... Oh god. Oh god! It gets much worse. Call of Duty World War II was a shit show if it came to loot boxes. The loot boxes almost made you feel like you were gambling, and was deliberately made to pull you into getting addicted to the game. But honestly, you know what? World War II was fine too. Honestly, a lot of games were. Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign, but still had one good zombies map, and an okay multiplayer. Of course, it also had Blackout, which was greatly timed. Battle Royale was very, very popular around that time. But for a lot of people, it wasn't until the very first Modern Warfare reboot came out that our gears started to grind. For starters, the game was nowhere as good as the original, but it did get a good, beautiful new code. The incredibly popular game modes as well. But at this point, many people were already incredibly tired of battle royales. So many gamers, like myself, dropped the franchise after this. But the worst of the worst is Modern Warfare 3. The game is hot garbage. Like I said in my graphics video, this game tries too hard to be like Fortnite, adding the boys, but also Nicki fucking Minaj to the game. You know what? Collaborating with artists is cool, like when they had M Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold voice a character for Blackout. But you know what the difference is? Avenged Sevenfold made songs for Call of Duty and were already part of that universe! And the weird collaborations Call of Duty seems to make with the motivation of money is not even the worst. The campaign reused assets in the laziest and most apparent way ever. Even someone who has no clue of how game development works can smell the fact that Infinity Ward reused assets in the campaign from Warzone. The campaign is also one of the worst written stories in history of gaming. Hell, I'd rather listen to that one Final Fantasy laugh for 4 hours straight than play Modern Warfare 3 the campaign for 4 hours, because yes, that is the maximum amount of time that you can get out of this campaign. It's lazy, it's disgusting, I can't even talk anymore, I'm so mad. And I don't want anything to do with this franchise. Well, luckily, at least they didn't straight up lie about a product. So I guess they're not that bad. You know who did lie? Blizzard Entertainment! For a straight 4 years, they starved Overwatch 1 players of content, promised a story-driven sequel, then instead they shut down Overwatch 1 and make the sequel the new main game. How can there be a 2 when there is no 1? But well, maybe the PvE will still be launched. Oh wait, we already know that ended. They never released the story in the way it was advertised. And they just kept on lying. Here is the Overwatch 2 trailer, and here's what's left of what they promised in that trailer in the real game.
Which one's your favorite? Mine's Tracer. She's like, cheers up, the cavalry's here. You're one of those heroes, aren't you?
Before me, I see the future. Human. Machine.
You know there's more out there, don't you?
Even the best journeys end. But a new one is right around the corner. I am your queen! Let's take him to the wasteland!
One punch is all I need.
Nice work, team. Keep it moving.
I cannot wait to push.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Boom, baby!
Check me out. Do something!
Get in there.
It takes a team to tango.
Wow! No new hand animations, no banners, no weapon inspection, no dynamic weather system, and they even removed content from the game. On Fire was removed from the main game and added in back later as a feature. They removed my favorite social feature of all time, the find group setting, where you could just make groups and meet like-minded people. And then they remove a player from each team. And sure, double shield fucking sucked, but the entire point of tanks was tanking. And now we just have another glorified DPS in the team. Why? And the reason this gets my blood rising is not because we didn't get all this new stuff. It's the fact that they advertised and promised it. If they never promised these hand animations, if they never promised a PvE with a skill tree, if they never promised to have anything new, it would not be a problem. They could have just made it an Overwatch rework at that point, but they just had to take the lazy route and lie and deceive left and right. I have still no idea how they got away with it. If you play Overwatch 2 and only just started playing after everything, you are probably not as worked up as I am, since the game itself is fine. New characters are fun to play. As I mentioned before, the graphics and art style are still interesting, and the community is fun to interact with. Maybe they should add a feature where I could group up with them and actually meet the community. No, that's too much effort. No one would ever be able to put that in a game. They just fucked up in so many departments, from management to advertisement to so much more, that I just can't help but be mad about it. What Blizzard did is basically this. You're at a restaurant and you see on the menu that your favorite dish is available there. Could be anything, but just for now I'll say steak with peppercorn sauce and some potatoes on the side. Now you don't really care too much about the potatoes, but they might be nice for your appetite and for variation. The waiter takes your order, you wait for 2 hours, and you get just the steak. Sure, I like the steak, but I was promised it would have potatoes and peppercorn sauce as well. Are you going to tell me that in that situation, you are just going to eat the steak, pay your bill, and say nothing? You won't just ask for at least a peppercorn? Because if so, if you'll just lie down and let them hit you, maybe you should go see a therapist. You have severe social anxiety at that point. But that's not the point. That's not the point. No, stop. Don't call the therapist. Like my video. Keep watching. This behavior should just not be condoned. Although playing Overwatch is fine, I don't ever want to spend money on this game, because it would send the wrong message to the gaming industry. But luckily, not every company is like this. We still have indie games that don't pull this kind of shit. Hell, they literally cannot physically pull this shit. Or From Software and Larian Studios that just care for their products. And although corporate greed is still present at other companies, for example at Bethesda, it is still nowhere as bad as the listed 3 companies in this video. So to end this video on a more positive note, I just want to say that I fucking love games. I love game developers, and I am so curious to know what your favorite game of all time is. So let me know in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe, since we are getting closer and closer to 1,000 subs. And if I have those 1,000 subs without you in it, I don't even want the 1,000 subs. So please consider clicking that lusty little red colored button right below this video. And I love you guys, as always. See you around. Oh, by the way, you can become a member now if you have money. Only if you have money. If you don't have money, don't do it. Okay, bye.